This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pimm Fox. All right, now let's take stock of Western Union. The company gets more than half of its revenues from outside the U.S. and has been riding the coattails of improving economies in China and elsewhere in the Asia-Pacific region. But we're turning our sights on the U.S., where revenues, they were down about 15% last quarter. Stewart Stockdale is the head of the Americas for Western Union. Stewart, good to have you with us. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Explain, first of all, this whole idea. We were just talking during the break that when you look at a business like Western Union, you have to understand that there is revenue, the sale, the revenue that's going through the business, but there's also transaction volume. Explain a little bit about where we are, at least in the Americas for Western Union, in terms of revenue and transactions in the state of play.
You have to think of customers first. So you have X number of customers that are users of our service. And primarily that's people sending money from the U.S. to Mexico, Central America, South America, or anywhere around the world in 200 countries. You have people within the United States that send money. So first you have customers. Now every time they use our service, we actually call that a transaction, and that's just the click. Now when you multiply the click by the price of the transaction, then you start getting into our revenues and potential revenues. So the U.S. has been hard hit. We have a tough economic situation. We have unemployment, which is our primary measure in the Americas. We look at how the economy is improving, but we're looking at double-digit unemployment, and that's what we're seeing. And what we see in our customers is still sending the transactions, but maybe they're sending less amount and less often. But when you think of remittances, it's still one of the number one needs for people that they're still going to send money home to their loved ones, and so that's not a discretionary type usage.
All right, and let me just say that provides me with the segue to talk about some initiatives that you're doing in the United States to, in a sense, maybe link Western Union to various bank accounts that people might have, or indeed send money inside the United States between one account and another.
You're right. I mean, over the course of the last year or so, we changed our plan within the U.S. or enhanced our plan to not only look at the migrant base and the emergency send, but the mainstream customer. And so we looked at two big pockets. One is banks, and the other one's prepaid. And I'll talk a little bit about banks first. For a long time, people thought that banks were our competitors in the U.S. Yet overseas, we've been working with banks for a long time. So we'd actually had a relationship with Scotiabank in Canada, and that's two transactions. One is a cash transaction where people could go, take their money, and send it someplace. The other is when they could send it directly from their account or from a PC directly anywhere to our 400,000 locations. So we started talking to the banks in the U.S.
U.S. Bank Corp, for example, they signed up, right?
We signed up with U.S. Bank. We signed them up in February, and by May they were live with us. They have almost 3,000 locations that are fully branded with Western Union. We quickly thereafter signed Fifth Third. So they're now in the pipeline, and we now have 50 banks in the U.S. that work with us, and they now represent 10% of our base in a very short period of time. So we think that the banking segment will continue to grow, and that's important because you have the cash component, but you also have the account component. The other segment is prepaid, which is also a huge category that we really weren't in. So we started expanding it, and we announced a few months ago two products, reloadable products, one a MoneyWise, where you could actually send the prepaid to the house or send the card to the consumer, and they could receive the money on the card, and of course they could reload on it. The other component is our Gold Card. We have 8 million Gold Cards in the U.S. We're starting to convert those to have prepaid. They currently have prepaid phone, and they have points on loyalty, but now they're going to have a prepaid component with a Visa bug. So we're starting to enhance that. And today we launched our gift card. So we really launched our holiday campaign today. And I don't know if you were around New York today, but we announced a big partnership with Wyclef Jean. We had a concert, and we really started our gift-giving season with a big bang here in New York.
Talk about some of the challenges, because let's say in the banking community, because there are still some banks which have decided they want to set up their own, in a sense, money transfer business. Is that still an issue? I mean, is it a question of cost? Is it a question of branding? What have you come across? What have you come up with?
You have a number of the bigger banks in particular that have done it on their own, and a lot of banks have actually tried it on their own, and some have given up, and some continue to do it. I think where our value proposition is when you plug into us, you still ride the U.S. Bank rail, but they're connecting to Western Union, and all of a sudden they're connected to 400,000 locations worldwide.
Because of that whole agent strategy that you have.
They don't have to build that, so they could either plug into ours or try to build it on their own. And what many are finding is that they rather build into ours, and it's not to also different how they work with Visa or MasterCard because it gives them that network effect on a global basis.
Just last question, just to see if you can give us a little hint. The settlement with the state of Arizona, is that kind of done and dusted as far as the company's concerned right now?
We accrued for it, as you saw in the third quarter,
right.
and it's not done, so I really can't talk a lot about it. But we're hoping that that's something that was in the past, and we hope that it
right,
gets resolved.
Right, because that goes back to 2003.
I hope it, we're hoping that it gets resolved here short term.
All right, I want to thank you very much, Stewart Stockdale, coming in and sharing us your view about the Ammericas business for Western Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you.